Well, Dr. Robb Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you indeed for asking. Awesome. Looking forward to this.
Hey, before we get started, I saw a picture of you with an English bulldog. Was that yours?
Yes, I have three English bulldogs. We used to have four, but we had to rehome one because of fights.
Oh,
But I have Mackenzie, who's the girl, and two boys.
that is so sweet. So I've had four total, but right now I have just one. Yeah, an English bulldog.
Wow.
His name is Teddy. He's the podcast mascot. You will occasionally hear him snoring in the background.
Always. I've got three in the office today because they're doing other things downstairs. But yeah, I hope they don't bark or anything. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
It's fine. It's fine. This is not CNN. We'll be good. But my audience is all about sobriety and finding solutions. And you are the solution guy. I saw you on the doctors and did my research and saw on your website that you talk about permanent recovery.
Yes.
And that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants these people who've just been through the ringer of people who want to stop and cannot.
Yeah.
Those are our people, right? And so I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all that. But like I said, before we jump in, we do this something called the lightning round. So I'm just going to pepper you with it's never usually very fast, but I'm so curious, what were some of your favorite books when you got sober?
When I got sober, well, obviously the big book I read often, but I kind of, well, I wrote a book myself, so that's obviously the best book ever that I've read. But just real life. I love biographies. I love to see how other people live and how other people have overcome. Not a big believer in these get well or get fit books that are out there. I just think that it's all about the mind.
Oh my
gosh,
I'm
intrigued with the mind.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'll be talking to Dr. Anna Lemke. She wrote that book that just was released, Dopamine Nation. So I'm super excited about that. And also Never Enough, another neuroscientist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all about it. Awesome. What about, do you have like a favorite go-to mantra? You kind of said it this morning when I asked you how you are.
I did. I always use that. It's dreaming. I'm living the dream instead of dreaming a living. And it came to me when I was homeless, passing a nice house with the children, mum and dad, having Christmas lunch. I used to dream of that. I used to dream of living that little dream. And when I did, it just came to me one day and it's been my mantra ever since.
I love that. Yeah, we do have a tendency to spend a lot of time in fantasy land when we're in the throes, even afterwards, if I'm honest. Do you have a regular self-care routine that you practice for yourself?
I do every single day when I get up. First thing I want to do is I want to train my subconscious brain. So I go to the mirror, I look myself in the eyes and I say, I love you 10 times. I don't say any other affirmation, just I love you, because I used to have a big problem with that. So I'm kind of storing the subconscious brain. So when it comes to that decision making, that's going to pop over to the prefrontal cortex. And I'm going to go, you know something? I love myself today. I deserve this. So yeah, that's what I do. And then I write out 5 things I'm going to accomplish that day. And the idea behind that is if I complete all 5, I've taken a step forward in life. If I only complete 3 or 4, I've taken a step back in life.
Oh, interesting. You know what I heard recently is accountability. Empathy without accountability reinforces the victim mentality.
Yes, I like that.
I like I like that accountability piece that you have for yourself. I have a feeling you're kind of a hard ass and I can't wait to talk to you about that. But I have one more question. 2 more. I lied. 2 more questions. What's the one thing you wish you knew when you first got sober?
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
My life's going to be amazing.
Your life is amazing.
It is.
And what do you do for fun?
I have a music room. I used to be a musician when I was young. So I was a on-stage musician, and then I played at Abbey Road for about 3 or 4 years.
Goodness.
So I played with Elton John, Queen, David Bowie. So I have a music room at the home with a full everything. It's got everything and you could imagine. So I go in there about once every couple of days, and I may play drums or guitar. I might play keyboard. I might write songs. I might do a live YouTube. So that's what I do. And of course, walking my 3 English bulldogs is also great.
Yeah, I noticed that you have some big guns. Do you consider exercise fun?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I have what's called a mirror in the house. We also have a bike, a well-known bike, Peloton.
Oh, the
in the
mirror,
house.
the exercise mirror thing.
Yes.
Oh, you like that?
Phenomenal.
It's
You can
so
do
good.
everything on that. Yeah.
And
So
you can make yourself look beautiful.
yes, of course. If you really squint for me, I'm like, oh yeah, you don't look too bad, to be honest.
But I don't want to gloss over the fact that you mentioned that you play with Elton John and Queen. Fucking amazing. Oh my God.
Right.
That is amazing. You just kind of like threw that out there very casually. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's what paid for college. I was a session musician. I grew up on the projects. So I was never going anywhere really, but I always wanted to be better. So I auditioned after playing other recording studio sessions, and then I did 7 auditions and got the job. And I was only 16 at the time against professional.
16.
I know. But I had this confidence. Well, my mom used to tell me I used to walk around with the guitar around my neck and wouldn't even take it off to bathe. I was just upset because a musical family. I was on stage at 9 with a musical family. So yeah, okay. So awesome. Everyone asked the same thing. Who's the worst person you played with regarding hanging around? And who's the best? Worst person at Elton John. Once he gets into that mood, is horrible.
Was that before he got sober or after?
Yes, I think before.
It
would be 79 around the area. And the best would be Freddie Mercury. We spent hours and hours late into the night chatting about philosophy and how it can change the world. So yeah, beautiful.
I got the sense from Freddie Mercury that he'd be really funny.
Oh yeah, he is. He's always kind of switched on. You never find him in a bad mood. He's always smiling. He used to call me Robbie Darling, which is hilarious.
What else would he call you?
Right, exactly. So,
these guys.
Yeah, awesome days.
That's amazing. That is truly, truly unique. That's very cool. Okay, well, that's it for my silly lightning round questions. I always like to provide like book resources and things like that and sort of set the stage for mindset. But really what you and I think both care about is helping other people. And to help other people, I actually practice hypnotherapy. So when you talk about subconscious mind, neuroscience, and all that stuff, what we're talking about is root cause, right? Because you and I are dealing with people that have chronic, persistent, pervasive conditioning from childhood. I read somewhere in your stuff that root causes are abandonment, fear, and shame. Can you tell me a little bit about why those things lead us to want to medicate with drugs and alcohol? And really, mostly, what is your process to help treat that pervasive, consistent conditioning?
Well, we have to look. There's a couple of things you need to look at before we get in that conversation, and that is the alcoholic brain, which is a predisposition. We're born this way. It's hereditary, not like drug taking. Alcoholism is different. So we look at that brain, for instance, is what I study. And many people often ask me, what's the gateway drug, Rob? It's obviously marijuana. And my answer is always the same. It's trauma. That's the gateway drug. So I'm born this way. I have a remapped neural pathways at birth because I have the alcoholic brain, which wants to self-sabotage at any opportunity it can. So remapped and then trauma. Now, when I say trauma, people think, oh, well, I've never been in a car crash or, no.
Witnessed a murder or...
Right, but trauma can be in the house. So, for instance, my mum walked in, hypothetically, one day, and me and my brother stood on the table. My brother's a normie, and my mum says to my brother, because this is what she said, and this is what he hears, Paul, get down off that table, you stupid idiot, get down. And he jumps off and he laughs. What I hear, same sentence said to me in the same voice, get down off that chair, you stupid idiot. So my brain and subconscious brain and central nervous system is jacked up for a start. And all that wording, everything we hear and we see is always stored in the subconscious brain. Everything we do. And that's why the latest science that I do regarding the brain is helpful into the subconscious brain. So I'm automatically abandoned because of the way I hear and see things. So my dad used to work a lot of hours. We're a working class family. So I have hardly seen my dad. There's abandonment issues straight away, which we don't think are abandonment issues. My dad's doing the best he can. Oh, don't be so silly, Robert. You can't go to college like your brother. oh my goodness, that does more harm than you could ever imagine. But my subconscious brain loves that stuff.
Why did she say you can't, don't be silly, you can't go to college?
It was just something my mom said, you know. It's not like my brother went. It's like, we can't go to college. We just don't do that. Oh. You see, I was supposed to grow up just like my parents. By the time I was 18, married. By the time I was 19, have a baby or two, have a normal 9-to-5 working manual job and go to the pub every night on the way home. That was it from generations to generations. Because you can see that pattern of alcoholism and mindset going back through my family, that's what they settle for. Now, I was different. I didn't want to settle for that. So going back to the abandonment, the alcoholic brain and central nervous system and the whole aura is always felt as if we don't fit in. So I never fit in anywhere. So there's the abandonment again, the shame of where I grew up. I grew up on the projects, council estates. All my friends I went to school with, even though it was just a normal school, they lived on the private estates, which parents had a mortgage. We paid rent. I was so embarrassed about it. I was so shameful. And of course, when my drinking took over at the age of 9, I started, but it took over about 25, 26. There was the shame of that. So what we do is we have to go back, what we call is a scene of the crime. And we have to start clearing that stuff up. And the worst thing somebody can say to me is, oh yeah, I've kind of worked on that myself. If you worked on that yourself, you won't be relapsing, first of all, and you won't be going through girlfriends 10 every week. You know, we have to really go back and look exactly what you do and repair that damage done in the past, and usually by caregivers.
So when you say go back to the past and repair the damage, that is the crux of the treatment, right?
Yes, it is. Because you have to go back and look. You know, I mean, many people come and they go, okay, well, I drink a lot. I don't do this. I didn't do that. Well, any trauma? No, everything's good. And when we go back and really pinpoint, they forget to tell me about the molestation from the father or the uncle or the priest. They forgot to tell me of the homosexual act that he did when he was 9 or 10. They forgot to tell me about how the mum used to smack him across the face because the house wasn't tidy when they come home. So they kind of think, well, mum and dad did the best. No, I'm not having that. I hate it when people say that. Well, they did the best they could. No. You know, I used to walk to school with holes in my socks and cardboard in my shoes because I had holes in my shoes. Walking on the snow 2 miles, I had to walk to work every day because my mom couldn't afford my socks and my shoes. Now, my mom could afford and my dad to go to the bar every Friday and Saturday night. So I had one person sat down once and he said this. He said, Rob, you're really upset about them shoes. And I said, yeah, but my mum and dad couldn't afford it. And he said this to me that changed my life. He says, when your mum went to the bars every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, did she have holes in her socks? And I was like, ouch. And that's when it hit me. I had more trauma than I could ever imagine growing up. You know, they would drop me with a friend. But when I got to the friend, the man and the woman, they would say, okay, we have a naked night tonight. So everyone gets naked. I didn't tell my mom that because I thought it was natural. That was child abuse.
Yeah. Everybody in the house got naked?
Yeah, but you know, all the kids and the mom and dad, and that's just the way it was. So I went along and never even mentioned it because I thought, it's just the norm. You see, I have a big saying, and it's this: anything less than nurturing as a child is child abuse.
Yeah. Especially
when I find out more about the brain and the central nervous system. I kind of never get a girlfriend. Why do I always leave? Why did I marry my dad? Well, it's like you have to understand why we do these things. There's a pattern to our behavior. And if you're happy doing that pattern and living the way you're living, great. But if you want to change your life, then you need to go back and clear this stuff up and change neural pathways from self-sabotage to self-care. Because at the moment, or when I was born up until about 28, when I got sober, I had more self-sabotaging than I did self-care. So I'd start really good. Oh, I would look so good, Arlene, when I went to work or do anything, girlfriend. But after a month or two, it self-sabotage. It'd be like this. Oh my God, it's 9 o'clock, Rob. You're not supposed to start till 10. And then 6, Rob, are you going home? I'll stay till 7. A month later, where the hell is Rob? It's 1 o'clock. That's all my life has been like that because I self-sabotage over any considerable period with a mindset like that.
Right. It's that internal mindset of, I don't really truly deserve this.
100,000,000%. And the other one is self-dialogue. I can self-sabotage. You don't have to say anything to me. I drop a pen on the floor and I go, what a stupid idiot when I'm picking it up.
What is
My
that?
brain loves that stuff.
Right.
You know? So when I go for that car, that job, that girl, that house, whatever, the subconscious brain goes, you stupid idiot. What are you doing here? You can't do this. Who do you think you are?
Right.
And I still get that today when I do speaking. I'm sat in the wings sometime and I'm thinking, oh my God, they don't what I've got nothing to offer. Oh my God. And I panic.
Yeah.
And then God takes in when I walk over. And I'm a big spiritual guy now. I used to hate that word, God. And we're all happy going to church. I used to hate that.
Did you go to church growing up?
I did. I was a choir boy. I was a chorister, as they called it in the Protestant church. I had a great voice, but my headmaster sexually abused me. He was one of the guys that, and I blame my mom. My mom knew about this.
She knew that he was like that and sent you anyway?
It was nothing directly talked about, but I remember being picked up. There's a group out there of singers. They call the Vienna Boys Choir.
Oh,
it's
sure.
Like the elite. Well, my headmaster said, who was also the teacher of the music and the church, said to my mom, "We have Robert an audition for the Vienna Boys Choir in Chester, which is 70 miles away from where I live." He took me there, and the rest was blurred. We never went to any audition. I come home feeling sick. Mom said I was silent for about 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, couldn't say anything. I was shocked. I don't remember the incident, but put 2 and 2 together. Right. I don't remember going for any auditions. So it was a ruse. And then there was the neighbor across the road that was about 14, 15. And he was married, but he was gay. And we go to the sauna together because I was into fitness and bodybuilding at the time. And he would try to molest me and do things. And it was awkward. And then we made it into fun. But many years later, and I said, "Oh, you remember when I used to go to sauna?" He said, "Oh, yeah, with the gay guy." And I looked at them and I said, "How do you know?" "Oh, everyone knows about him." And I didn't say it, Arlena, but I wanted to say, why the fuck did you just let me go through 5 years of my life with this guy knowing quite well what he's capable of doing? And it really kind of set me, you're not against my parents, but I'm thinking,
fuck?
He did the best he could. Is not good enough for me. I don't like
it. I heard that at a meeting one time. This guy, because you do hear that a lot. And I think it's a way, it's sort of like spiritual bypassing. Like you have to go through the pain first and do the processing, metabolize the pain and blah, blah. And sometimes that thought they did the best they could offers a little bit of peace. But if you don't do the work first, it's just spiritual bypassing and you're just putting a Band-Aid over a pile of shit. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy stood up at a meeting one day and he like pounded the podium. He goes, "It wasn't good enough."
Yes.
It wasn't. And I was like, thank you. Finally, somebody spoke the truth.
Exactly. And that's what's missing. One of the things when I came to America, because I wasn't known or famous at anything back then, is I wanted to have a platform where I could speak my mind. I don't report to anybody. If I say the things that other people are thinking or wish they could say, because it isn't good enough. You drop the fucking ball, mom and dad, own it. That's just the way that my dad never spoke to me. He couldn't give him a gift. He was one of them guys, very embarrassed. Well, it was just the way he was brought. Bullshit. Change it. I changed it. I lost my kids and all that, but now I've got in touch with one of them. I've changed it. It's just the way. No, it's not. I'm not having that.
What's important about owning it in your mind? Like when you tell somebody, hey, it wasn't good enough, and we want them to own it. Is it the validation? Is it a standing up for ourselves? What is it about owning it that is so important?
Well, first of all, when I do that, it's telling the truth. It's outing the truth. It's like there are some guys growing up now around the world that don't even think the Holocaust happened. It's that
crazy,
kind of thing, and I don't want people to get into that. It's like, let's remind us who dropped the ball and who didn't. Right. And I like giving information that people go, "Oh, well, we shouldn't be talking about that." First of all, the alcoholism. Yes, we should. And I'm blatant when families comment, "Oh, little Johnny's, he's drinking every day." Like, well, he's going to die. Whoa, you can't say that to us. Why? What, can I not speak the truth? Truth telling for me is powerful.
Yes.
It really is powerful. And I like to, first of all, I have this aura that attracts people when I speak. And that was a gift. I used to be
always
terrible.
had it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I say it loud, I say it strong, I say it proud, and people listen. And I love the fact that let's not keep it hidden away.
Oh,
Let's
no.
bring it out, because alcoholics used to be, until 2 or 3 years ago, where the gay community was 30 years ago. It's like, oh, we don't talk about that. And we know it goes on. But hey, you know, I always say to people, I know, right? But I always say to people,
okay, here's sorry to interrupt you, but here's the thing. It's okay for you to get drunk and show your ass in public.
Right? Yes.
But God forbid you tell people, I don't drink anymore. I just don't like blacking out. I don't like waking up in strange
It's like the worst thing in the world.
Strange.
It's like, I heard this guy tell a joke once. He was like, I went to the bar and the guy said to me, do you want a drink? And it says, no, I'm an alcoholic. And he said, what? He said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm a serial killer. Thank God for that. I thought he said he was an alcoholic for a second.
Just a serial
it's kind of
killer.
that scenario where I'm out there just doing it, you know.
It's so crazy to me that people are so like, and people still like that are in recovery. And listen, I don't come out with like, oh, I'm an alcoholic. I'm just like, yeah, I don't do that. It just depends on the audience. It really depends on, you have to know your audience. Like at work, I used to, when I was in corporate, I would just be like, yeah, I'm just not drinking. Want to get up early, want to be fresh.
Yes. And the last 10 years have been with people who are getting back in shape. I know I've worked with a lot of A-list footballers and stuff like that. And it's fitness now. It's about getting back in shape, which covers for those people. I tell them the truth, you know, when they come in the table. So what do you want to drink? And everyone's drinking, by the way. They go, what do you want to drink? I'll just have Coke. Coke? You're a big guy. You know, what do you want to drink?
You can handle it.
Especially if it's a woman or something. It's like, come on, just have a little whiskey. I'm like, if I had a whiskey, first of all, I'm going to try to rape you. Let's get that out of the way straight away. I'll take you home in front of my wife. And then I'm going to start fighting anybody who disagrees with me. And then I'm not going to actually get you on because I'll be arrested. And what? That's what happens when I drink. So I'll just have a Coke. Yes, sir. And they walk away. It's
one Coke coming up.
One Coke coming up.
One time I made the mistake of telling this guy at work, I go, oh, I don't drink. And he goes, how come? And I go, I tend to break out naked. And he was all, 2 drinks, please. I go, oh, wrong thing to say. Break out in handcuffs. How about that? Right. I'm allergic. Yeah. Nobody's scared of me fighting. I'm like 5'3". That's awesome. But okay, so you know what I wanted to ask you. I saw a lot of your videos and things like that. And you have this very strong personality, kind of an in your face thing. And there are some people that really respond, like they respond to that. People who are in denial, people who just need that. I think people crave that level of accountability. People want to know where the boundaries are so they can feel safe. But I don't think it works for everyone. How do you know who that works for? I since you are able to adapt to every different kind of alcoholic, I think that's part of a gift, the chameleon thing, right? Yes. I'm sure you have that too. You have learned to turn that into an asset. How do you read someone to know whether the in your face kind of style works or the gentle nurturing works?
So usually the first indication is where they contacted us. It's like, well, I heard this podcast and oh my God, I love Dr. Robb. That's the first one. He needs it in his face. And then you get the parents who call about this 18-year-old girl who's taking too much heroin, and you need a different approach to that. So, and then they need to take an assessment. One of the reasons why we have a 97% success rate over 20 odd years, 30 years, and 7,000 patients is because of the assessment. So I find out real quick whether you really want to do this deal. So when we will not take anybody's money if we can't guarantee that they can recover. So the assessment kind of puts everything into place for me. And, most people want what I give, but I have a psychotherapist that works with 3 girls and 1 guy that need the soft approach. And that's great. We'll do that.
Okay.
But
it's the assessment that,
yes.
So you must turn away a lot of people who don't really want it.
Yes. And this is what people can't understand, especially my so-called treatment friends out there who keep taking the same person back time and time again for $30,000 a month. It's like, I won't do that. Well, how do you survive? Well, we took almost $1 million this year. How much did you take? By being honest and straight with people. Because now we're getting to be known like that is if you can't pass, I don't care how much money you've got. We've been offered blank checks, literally blank checks by billionaires, and say, fill it on yours.
Fix
do whatever
my child.
You want to do. Yes.
They're saying, fix my child.
Fix my child. I'll give you a blank check. You can do anything. You can buy your house. You can take $1 million. You do it. I'm the guy that turned down Britney Spears for $1 million back in Dallas in the day, because she came in and she was drunk. She was 3 hours late. And she it was a mess. So I said, no, I'm not doing it. Jamie, her dad, got up and he's all please, Rob. Then the bodyguard got off and said, you're not leaving until you see her. So I'll put him in his place. And then 2 days later, she shaved all her hair off. She said, I won't do that. I won't do that. I can't look in a parent's face and say, hey, I'm really sorry, but she didn't want it. No, I don't believe in that. If you get somebody with you one-on-one, we do 1 hour a day for 90 days, you can change the way they think. Period.
An hour a day for 90 days. What do you do in that hour?
Well, 5 days is with me, and I go back and change neural pathways, and I change belief, and I change behavior. And we build a future for them. So if they need a job, we'll get them one. If they need to start their own business, we'll build them a website, all this great stuff. My psychotherapist will go back to the scenes of the crime. She specializes in childhood trauma. My number one coach, which is also my daughter, which we'll get into later, opened a Manchester office in England about a year ago. And she is the family people, because we believe if somebody calls who wants help in a house, and there's him, his wife, and 2 children over the age of 16, all of them need to be in the program. We won't take you on. Say, well, that's just me that's sick. Now, the house is sick, first of all, and the wife's probably enabling, and she's going through some stuff, and she's probably near a nervous breakdown. So either you all come on or we don't see you at all.
That's brilliant.
Well, it's like, if you can imagine a house, let's say speak Japanese, and we take them out of the house and stick them in our house. Let's speak English, because we have a different language for recovery. So he speaks English, Japanese house, still speaking Japanese. So we take the guy, we put him back into the Japanese speaking house. What's going to happen? He's going to start speaking Japanese. And that's one of the problems with recovery. You don't understand the family dynamics around the alcoholic. The whole family's sick, and we need to heal the whole family. So we find that and that's some intense work with the family dimension, the family unit, and of course the alcoholic and the desperate wife. It's terrible when we leave the wives alone, or the husbands, or whoever the drinker is, or the user, and we forget all about them, because they've got the abandonment, they've got the shame, they've got the remorse, I always say, to the wives and husbands and partners of alcoholics or addicts, the PTSD that you have because you have it, if you live with one, is no different from the PTSD from someone coming home from war. Now, I love our soldiers. I'm an American citizen. I love them to bits, but I'm just talking about the brain, guys, because both of them never know it's going to be the last day. Both of them never know when it's going to kick off. Both of them never know that they're not going to walk on eggshells today. It's the same thing. So the brain doesn't know the difference between war and war in the household. And that's another thing that people don't understand. So the wife's going to be okay. No, she won't. She will, either commit suicide or do a runner or assist the alcoholic start drinking again, because she can't stand this new person that's come out. So it's really complex when we talk about fixing the family. It really is. And that's what we've done. We've spent 20 odd years. I do the latest brain science. I do brain spotting.
What's brain spotting?
Brain spotting is a new development. There's only 3 people in the country or the world right now who can do it, because they haven't even put a training course for it. But brain spotting is a technique that goes into the pupil and to the subconscious brain. It's a bit like EDMR, but it's a little different. So we're talking to the subconscious brain, and it's all about eye movement and the flicker in one eye. And then we stay with that flicker in that one eye, and we find out what's caused that. And then
so are they, I see where you're going with this. So when you say that you see the eye flicker, that's I can't speak this morning. That's an indication that there is a traumatic memory there.
Yes.
And so you have them, you say like, what's happening now?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
And the first response, is, nothing. But we hold it there. We hold it, and they've got to look at the pen, and that might take 5 hours. It might take 5 minutes, but I'm staying there. And all of a sudden they go, oh yeah. And they start talking about the traumatic event. It's the most powerful thing I've ever seen.
So this is what's been coming up for me lately is there's the traumatic events like EMDR, like you mentioned, the eye movement desensitization, reprocessing or reprogramming. And then but what do you do with the people who have the consistent, pervasive trauma day in and day out? Like I was talking to a gal who had a mother who was a heroin addict, and she would hear her mother on the phone saying, we don't have enough, I need money, I need to feed my kids. Like she was using her kids as a scapegoat. And she was using her kids to get money. And there were times when she didn't have food. So today she hoards food and she has a weight issue, right? And so, we were going to do some EMDR or some, hypnosis on that. So she goes, but it's not one situation, it's pervasive. How do you treat that pervasive, repetitive conditioning, like that mental conditioning?
So we use the brain spotting, obviously. We also use a technique which is called somatic experience, which is SE. People call it SE. So we go back and we look at the central nervous system and why is this happening? What's causing it? Then we go into the brain and we look at what's been happening in the past. So now we're using NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
Yeah.
So we're watching the behavior, we're watching the brain change, and we're watching the trauma in the past. Any patient that comes to me, first of all, needs to feel safe. We're getting them in a safe place when we go through the NLP or the SE, and we find out. So them three techniques together, as well as building confidence in the patient that you're your own person, and unfortunately, we're going to go back and we're going to pick them to pieces, the scene of the crime, as we call it, and then bring you forward through the trauma, through the behavior, through the reaction that you have, through the fear that you have, and we walk them through bit by bit until they have clear conscience. And this takes 90 days.
With that
safety in mind. Yeah.
Okay. So you create the safe space,
yes.
You build confidence, and then bring them through those traumatic experiences with so that feeling of safety and confidence overrides the fear.
100%.
And that's what is the rewiring of the brain.
Yes, it's resetting neural pathways is what it is. Yeah, and then once we reset neural pathways and get them excited about life, the neurons start firing and get us excited. Every time we say certain things like thank you to somebody, dopamine's released into the brain. We use that a lot. You have to compliment 3 people every day. So it's a new technique that we have been doing for so many years that used to call it out the box. They still call it out the box. But with the percentage rates of us and the success we had, we just really need to start looking at alternative ways to go back and fix this permanently. We don't need to go for medication straight away. Because when we do our reports...
I'm sorry, go ahead and finish.
When we do our reports about drugs, especially heroin addicts, 99.9% of heroin addicts started in the doctor's office. Just because the doctor says it so doesn't make it right or doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
And one of my big deals at the moment is fight against your doctor, questioning why, how, and when, what's going on? Why do I need to take this? What damage is it going to do to me? What's the long-term effect? But we don't. We just go to doctors who are getting backhanders from somewhere because the latest medication like Vyvanse is out, and all of a sudden it's the #1 pill. You couldn't get it over here in Texas. You had to wait a week for Vyvanse. That's how popular it was. Somebody's getting something for doing that.
What is Vyvanse?
Vyvanse is a bit like it's amphetamine salts. It's a bit like Adderall. It's just a different name on it. So we're feeding our kids amphetamine salts. Speed is what we're giving our kids for attention deficit. When I was a kid, attention deficit was a slap across the head and say concentrate. But there's a whole new story on that where we go with that. I can't get into it now because there's a lot more to explain about that. But that's what we do with people, and we build them up and we create a life worth living. And we'll go to any lengths to do it. Any length to do it because we have to.
Yeah. Let me ask you, there's a lot of talk about, I really don't have any judgment about how people get sober. And I understand that there's, harm reduction is a thing.
Yes.
Right. Like I get that. But I don't have enough information to make an informed decision about like the brain and the neural pathways. And because while I think it's important for, if people are smoking weed to get off heroin and that keeps them alive, God bless you. do what you got to do. My concern is that like the emotional and mental evolution or progress ends there. Do you have feelings about, I'm sure you have feelings or opinions about like, why is harm reduction not meant to be a permanent thing? Like how, like when I talk to people like that, how can we move them? Yes, I'm glad you're alive. If that's what's keeping you alive, I don't even have an opinion. But what about one day stopping that? What about healing your brain and your dopamine reward system so that you no longer have to do that? You can have the benefits of living a full life.
Yeah, because I've heard of people on Suboxone for years. That's not the idea. You know, it's much harder to come off Suboxone than it is heroin. Right. That's a fact. So what we have to do is down step them, grade them down, and then taper off gradually and have an end date for that. So let's say the end date is 2 months or 3 months. We need to keep heading towards that. And eventually, as the brain starts to waken up and the central nervous system starts to act the way it's supposed to do, and the feelings start coming back, and you realize that life is worth living and so much you've missed out on, eventually the end date will happen and they'll be able to come off successfully. So depending on how far down, how bad the psychosis is, how bad the brain's been damaged, you cannot just stop and say, okay, I'm off all drugs now. That's the worst thing in the world you can do.
Right.
Best thing in the world you can do is seek doctor's help, come down, get your doctor to bring you down. Same with alcohol. They call me all the time. Well, he's drunk. You know, he's in a bad state. I've hidden all the bottles. Don't hide the bottles. Make him drink until he gets to detox. Right. And many people are just ignorant about all this because not their fault. It's lack of information because we've been stuck in the closet for so long that, you know, and that's one of the things I didn't want to do. Listen, when I was homeless, people used to spit on me on the floor. I used to wake up and kids used to throw diapers on me that were full. You know, I woke up one morning, I was covered in this stuff. And I'm angry at that and really happy at that. I'm in a great place to do that today. So, you know, I'm really strong on let's get a solution, a permanent solution for this.
Permanent solution.
Medication, unfortunately, I don't think for addiction or alcoholism in general, permanent medication is not the way to go. That's in my opinion, because nothing's good enough for me. You know, we go to the sandwich shop. My friend has a sandwich and a Coke. I get 2 sandwiches, a bag of chips, 2 Cokes. You know, I want 50,000 in the bank. Great. So when we get it, we've just had 100. It's crazy. So giving people drugs over a long-term period regarding alcohol addiction, not talking about medical. I take a small drug for my antidepressant, and I'm proud of that. And I'm not coming off it. And that's the way it goes. You know, we should have that fine line between good medical advice and don't listen to what other people say. So when it comes down to hardcore abstinence completely, 100% for that. The way we get there, wow, I don't care how you get there.
Right.
And when you come to me, there's an A, B, and C, and you'll follow that. People often say the difference between a therapist and what Dr. Robb's crew does is a therapist will ask you how you're feeling. Them bastards will tell you how to feel. It's like, well, that's what it is. Because if I sat here long enough, Ollie, and I said, I love you. I think you're the most amazing, gorgeous person I've ever seen. I want to leave my wife tomorrow, and I want to come and find you. I want to marry you. You're going to laugh. But if I said it often enough, you're going to start to believe it. And if I said it real often enough, I'm going to start to believe it. So what we hear when we get these patients in sets them up for an amazing life. When's the last time somebody said you're an amazing person? When's the last time we thanked somebody or tell them I love you? When's the last time you stopped at a hospital, walked in and thanked all the nurses? It never happens.
Right.
Because especially when you get to a position like me and other people like me, I'm in the office some months ago and I have 2 nurses there. One's a new, one's been there ages. And I heard them and one said, oh my God, did you see what Dr. Kelly just did with that guy? He came in miserable, suicidal. He walked out laughing and whistling and said bye to everybody. It's an absolute miracle worker.
After 90 days?
Yeah. And the older nurse said, hey, have you told him that? And he said, no. I mean, he already knows, but
he knows.
We don't know. We don't know.
No,
you know, and that's
what's so, okay. So this is the interesting thing about, you know, the default mode network, right? That operating system that we have in our brain. And we tend to, this is what I've had this, you know, this observation that we need if we've had constant conditioning of negativity, right? Like you were talking about repetition. You said, if I tell you you're all these beautiful things, you're going to start to believe it. I'm going to start to believing it's the repetition, because the subconscious mind doesn't filter false from the truth, right? It just takes, it's like the balance scale, which is kind of the good news, right? There's that idea of 51% that we're actually, all you need is 51% to tip the scale, right?
Yep.
So it's this ongoing conditioning that we need. So over those 90 days, they get they get reconditioned, their mind is reset, the family is readjusted. But the kicker is the default mode network and going back to the old ways. Like if we don't maintain the conditioning, is it true that they go back to the old ways? What do you do for the ongoing conditioning?
Of course. So this is now guys who are listening, I'm sorry. Those guys are watching. This is my self-sabotaging neural pathways.
He's holding a blue pen.
Let's say this is it. So blue for self-sabotage.
Okay.
These down here are your small bits of self-care.
Okay.
But this runs my brain.
Yes.
I will self-sabotage. So what this program does is it takes you from there to there.
Flips it over.
Yeah. So this is never going to go away. So we need to daily maintain this by the smallest things. Obviously, if you're a spiritual guy, you pray, compliment people, at the Good Samaritan, whenever I go into a room, light the room up. Because if I walk into a room with a frown on my face, most people are going to frown back. If I walk in the room with a smile on my face, most people are going to smile back. That's the hardest thing for people to do, is practice smiling, because the world needs leaders. You could be a leader for a day in that office or that waiting room or, that elevator. It's all about carrying a message of, hey, you can be anything you want. And people used to go, Dr. Rob, I can't be a president. I was like, I beg to differ today. A businessman's just been running our country. Don't tell me you can't do anything. There's no difference from somebody who comes to me almost homeless or homeless like me, and the CEO sat in that office above. The only difference is he believed he could do it. You don't. And when we get them to believe that they can do it, the world is their oyster. Absolutely.
I don't think people really understand how powerful beliefs are.
No.
They're all in your subconscious mind.
Yeah. Or how powerful they are. I always tell people you're empowered, but you just don't know it. We need to start realizing how powerful you really are. Yes.
I think, in traditional, like 12-step recovery, like the old school recovery, is beating the drum of you're powerless over, I hear it all the time, powerless over people, places, and things. And I think I have to call bullshit on that. Because
it's the biggest myth in AA.
Yeah.
Because what does step one say?
Powerless.
No, it doesn't.
It says over alcohol.
Well, the step one says we admitted we were powerless. How can I be powerless? It's not where, no apostrophe in there, but people put it, we're all powerless over. I'm not powerless over alcohol. I passed 4 liquor stores to go to my AA meeting. It's a past tense. They meant it to be a past tense. They're talking about permanent recovery. We admitted we were, and our lives had. Not our life is. It's all past tense once you start the steps, if you've read the book. I mean, I love 12-step meetings with that big book because it's the truth.
Yeah.
They talk about a psychic change and people go, is that a crystal ball? Listen, in 1938, when they were talking about a psychic change, it was changing neural pathways. 10 years ago, only 10 years ago in the medical fraternity, we found the brain was like plastic, neuroplasticity, they call it. It's the same thing. It's a changing neural pathways and molding them. Yet in 1938, these guys were talking about that. AA rooms right now are a joke. 90% of people in any meeting around the world is a heavy drinker. And we allow them to get away with this bullshit. They come in. Oh, today I want to talk about, I went to bed last night and my cat was licking beer up from my husband. Is he an alcoholic? Fuck, really? You want to go down that shit? But we allow these guys to do that. So the real message is gone. But I've got to tell you, 20 odd years.
It depends where you go. Not all meetings.
Oh, 100%.
Not all meetings are created.
No, they're not. They're not. They're amazing meetings. But that's the best piece of literature I've ever read. Is the 164, that blue book.
Oh, yeah.
Of all the studies I've done in the world regarding pertaining to the recovery of an alcoholic, that's the best book I've ever read.
Yeah, I love the community. There's so many good things. But you know what? You just blew my mind with the whole we're powerless, not we're powerless.
Exactly.
A little apostrophe makes all the difference. I guess the one thing that really bothers me about the 12-step community is the way some people treat the book like a new Bible. It's the religious, dogmatic, like they're closed-minded to other things. And I wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts or opinions on like treatment-resistant depression with the use of psychedelics. I know Johns Hopkins is doing lots of studies, and there's this new like alternative recovery for people with like intense heroin addiction or intense alcoholism. They're doing these ayahuasca retreats in Costa Rica. What are your thoughts on those?
Well, I have to be really kind of medical here and say, hey, there's not enough data to make a decision right now, but we only know little about the brain. We're discovering more and more every month. So why wouldn't you try that? Why wouldn't you try a different route to get to the same end result, which is sanity and living your best life? You know, and it may work for you, it may not. AA may work for you, it may not. I mean, you don't have to go one place. One place is not the answer to everyone's problems here. The answer is to seek out the treatment that your doctor or therapist tells you to try. And I tried ECT about 5 years ago.
That?
It's electronics, I can't remember now, trauma or something. But I was depressed, very, very depressed. And this is what my height of my career. But I did it for about 4 weeks. Best thing I ever did. Oh my God, best thing I ever did. Yeah, in literally 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm always looking at different alternative new treatment, you know, and I don't put a downer on anybody or anything from the medical fraternity that wants to be tried, because why wouldn't we?
Yeah. I've seen some just really I've been hearing lots of experiences from people who talk about doing these ayahuasca retreats. I practice abstinence. My life is great. I don't feel the need I don't suffer from depression. It sounds very interesting because it sounds like a process of dissolving the ego. And really it's like it drops the veil of denial and you can see things clearly. And what you were talking about before about recognizing and acknowledging the truth. Right. The truth of maybe some of the fear and the abandonment in the past. And I just found that really interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the Johns Hopkins clinical trials do. But I know of people personally who do things like the microdosing to treat clinical depression and things like that.
It needed somebody like Johns Hopkins University and hospital to try this, because everyone else would put a damper on it. So I'm glad a good name in the industry and the medical fraternity has actually taken steps to do this. I think it's absolutely amazing. But at the end of the day, it all goes back to your childhood, and it all goes back to the predisposition and the hereditary facts of any illness around, especially alcoholism and addiction. So it will be interesting to find out, because the problem is with this world right now is everybody knows somebody with an alcohol or drug problem. And I always say to them, if you don't, it's probably you. Because everybody knows somebody, you know? And a few times I've said that, people have gone very quiet and ended the conversation real quick.
Yeah, they go, oh shit, it's me. Somebody.
You know, let's bring it out into the open. Let's try all these things for different people and see if we can get a response.
Yeah. Yeah, life is short. Let's just cut the bullshit and get to the truth.
Sugarcoating this shit kills people.
It really does.
Like when somebody goes into a room, an AA room, and goes, well, we're all powerless over alcohol. My answer is always the same. How many fucking people have you killed with that line? How many people have you killed by just saying that, you self-sanctious son of a bitch? Read the book. If you're stuck in a 12-step meeting, read the information that tells us. Read it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And it's not only read it, but apply it, right? We have to take action and apply the information. So it's not enough to know how or know what. We need to know the how. We need to know how to apply this information. And listen, I just love what you're doing. I'm so pumped. I'm going to leave all your links in the show notes. What's the best way to get a hold of you if somebody is needing your help or wanting your help?
Jump on a Google or anything like that search engine. Just put my name in there, Dr. Robb Kelly. You'll see me. Website's robbkelly.com. I spell my name with 2 B's, so it's ROBBKELLY.com. And if you want, listen, guys, I want to say something. If you're sat at home and listening to this and don't think you're worth anything and don't think you can amount anything because of your past, I want to apologize to you guys, because somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds. Stop hanging around 10-cent minds. It's not for you. So that being said, I know people are sat at home going, it's okay for him. Who do I turn to? I don't know what to do. I'm going to give you my phone number here, my personal phone number. And if you're sat at home in a bad state, I'd rather come and help you right now than come to your funeral. So if you're sat at home in a bad state and want a 10-minute pep talk that will change your life, here's my personal phone number. People don't believe me. This is my cell phone number. It's not my assistant's. It's not the front desk. It's 214-600-0210. Now, as you can imagine, I'm a busy guy, but you call me or text me, leave a message. I will get back to you and it will be okay. Don't believe the hype. It's going to be all right.
Wow, that's impressive. I was like, oh shit, he's really going to do it.
I know. People are surprised at that. You know, it's just like,
I know.
I'm in the trenches with you guys. You're talking to a homeless guy that got his kids taken off him, you know, that fell asleep, supposed to have his kids 3 days later, not being changed or fed. And I'm drunk on the floor. And the police dragged them out of there. This is the guy that his eldest daughter said, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. 6 months later, I was homeless. The $1 million house had gone, the cars, the wife, the kids, the parents, the brother, the sister. I was abandoned on the street. I can do this. I'd love to sit here and tell you I'm really clever, but I'm not. If I can do this, you can do that. You just need that 10-minute pep talk to set you on the real track. And of course, if it can help you professionally, of course. But you do have to pass an assessment. And 75% of people that come to us fail the assessment, unfortunately, because we're the real deal. We're talking the truth.
Yeah. Accountability. I love it. Dr. Robb Kelly, thank you so much for your time today. I am so inspired and excited about the work that you're doing. I can't wait to leave all the links to all the resources. And thank you so much for being the real deal and giving your phone number. That's incredible.
I know. It's awesome. Thank you guys for listening. And thank you, Arlene. You're an amazing, and I love you, by the way.
I love you too. I believe you. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.